And we begin with breaking news out of London. The area surrounding the London Bridge has been evacuated amid reports of a car mowing down pedestrians. We are now taking you to live pictures from London. There are reports that several people are injured. Witnesses tell the BBC a white van veered off the pavement on London Bridge and struck as many as 6 people. Transport for London says London Bridge is closed in both directions due to police activity. We'll, of course, have more on this breaking news story as we get it, as well as updates on CBSMiami.com.
To bring you up to date, this story develops at around about 10 past 10 this evening. The Metropolitan Police responded to reports of an incident on London
from the
Bridge.
attitude of the police, from what they've said, they are for your own safety.
To a number of people. We spoke a little bit earlier to Will Heaven, a journalist who was passing over the bridge in a taxi at the time. He was heading south. He saw an individual lying on the pavement to his left as he crossed over the bridge. Perhaps looked like a road traffic accident at that point. He then saw another individual lying on the road. It became clear at that point that this was perhaps something more than a road traffic accident. The Metropolitan Police responded to the reports from Will and others. They then, according to the Met Police Twitter feed, responded to reports of stabbings in nearby Borough Market. The only information they're providing to us at the moment is this, that armed officers responded and shots have been fired. They are now responding to an incident in the Vauxhall area, which, as you look at that map there, you can see not a huge distance away, just south and southwest from London Bridge itself, easily walkable. Indeed, a journey that many people watching this will have taken, walking along South Bank, along the embankment, past Parliament on the other side of the Thames, where, of course, very recently indeed, there was that terrorist incident involving an individual driving a vehicle into pedestrians on Westminster Bridge, and then that vehicle round into Parliament Square. Just continuing to monitor the information which is coming to us from a variety of sources. Yeah, the very latest that we can tell you. A number of people have been injured. In the police's terminology, a number of casualties. No words as to whether or not any of those have resulted in fatalities. We know that police are there in numbers. Our cameraman has been pushed quite some distance, by my reckoning now, back from the bridge into, in fact, Borough Market. It seems apparent that there is an active investigation ongoing. It seems clear that police that are on the ground there are concerned about there being subsequent attacks subsequent to that one that we know about on London Bridge. Let's speak to Sky producer Nick Stiliano, who's actually in Borough Market at the moment. Nick, our camera has been pushed back quite some distance now. What can you tell us?
That's right. I'm just south of Borough Station at the moment. I've just been pushed back by a London Fire Brigade officer. There's a group of about 10 or 12 armed police with shields moving across up past Borough Market. There's about 3 or 4 sort of ambulance vehicles and doctors' vehicles, and they're blocking all the road. And there's a lot of police, non-armed police, coming down south and moving people inside the buildings, inside the pubs around. You might be able to hear that armed support unit police vehicle that's coming down the street now behind me. There's a lot of activity from lots of different emergency services. We've got police, we've got London Fire Brigade, we've got community support officers, and just behind me as well now there's another police transporter van just being ushered through the traffic. It's absolutely gridlock. Been pushed back by know what's going on. It seems to be that the cars are more in tune with what's going on because they've got the radio in. People are kind of out on their Saturday night. They're enjoying there's a pub to my left. They're kind of just watching kind of the news now, and they're just getting drinks, and they've been told by the authorities to just kind of stay inside.
So London Bridge is in that direction behind me to the east. We've been pushed back by the police past these cordons to the other side of Southwark Bridge. But a little earlier on, I was on sort of the south side of London Bridge. This is very much alive, ongoing and incredibly busy and large police operation here. There were police officers shouting at the remaining pedestrians that were in that area to get back as far as possible. They were pushing people south away from London Bridge and west to the direction that we are in now. There was a tremendous amount of police presence. If we just want to have a look behind me, you can see that even in this direction, away from around a good 10-minute walk from London Bridge, there's a huge amount of police cars, ambulances who have responded to this incident. There are also helicopters flying overhead, and we are hearing about incidents in 3 locations now, not only London Bridge, but also in the Southwark area, which is where I'm standing now, and also in Vauxhall as well. And what we're hearing is that, according to Metropolitan Police sources, that they are looking for 3 suspects. It is not known, there has been no sort of identity or description of these suspects offered at this time, but according to eyewitness reports, it is certainly a very traumatic incident, one which has resulted in a number of casualties.
Katerina, let's just describe these. I want to just describe these pictures that we're seeing at the moment at your location. It would appear to be, the best part of perhaps, well, thus far at least, certainly into triple figures. Members of the public walking away from those flashing lights towards the camera with their hands on their heads. If I can ask your cameraman to return to that shot, that would be great. Actually, of those people walking towards the camera. So we can just see in just a little bit more detail. That is, maybe half a mile up the road from you, and they're not being escorted.
So what we're...
Yeah, sorry, carry on,
They're not
Katerina.
being escorted, but they're not being escorted. And what was happening when we were in London Bridge is that there were a number of people who were perhaps about 5 minutes walk away from London Bridge. And when I was in that area, the police were very, screaming essentially at pedestrians to get out, to clear that area. Now, these may have been people who were just in bars in the area, who were hanging around, maybe trying to take photographs or to get some information about what was happening. But now it looks like these people are being, there's no police presence around them, but they have their hands on their heads and they're being escorted, pushed west out of the direction from London Bridge there, if you can see in our pictures. And these are people who are, well, it's difficult to say, but there are young people, old people, there's men dressed in suits, there's a few clutching a couple of bottles of beer, there are a few in tears. So these are clearly people who are being moved out of the area, and it seems that someone has told them to put their hands on their heads as they are doing so.
Katerina, thanks very much indeed. Let's bring in again Sky producer Nick Stiliano, who's on the streets of London this evening. Nick, tell us where you are and what you've been seeing.
I'm just southeast of Borough Tube Station, which is about a kilometre south of London Bridge itself. You might be seeing my pictures at the moment. There's a large cordon. There's police urging people to get back. I'm actually with a man called Ahmed at the moment, who was just returning from a night out with friends. Ahmed, you were trying to get back to your house, which is actually inside the cordon. Is that right?
Yeah, I just live at the back of the station. Yeah, I live at the back of the Borough station, but I can't get access to my house.
We appear to have lost Nick there. I mean, as you can imagine, as we try to get our reporters as close as we can to try and see exactly what has been happening. The problem is, of course, that the police want to do their job. And as we just saw in the past couple of minutes on the camera with Katerina, they're trying to get as many people out of the area as possible. But of course, with closing the bridge, closing London Bridge, closing the tube station, and indeed there are reports of other transport disruption elsewhere. Vauxhall, I should say, is something of a hub for that part of London south of the river. It may well prove to be rather difficult for people to get home. I just want to bring in, joining me in the studio is our defence correspondent, Alistair Bunkle, who's been following what's going on at the moment. Now, we know that the Prime Minister is being kept up to date with the event. One imagines she'll be heading back to number 10 just as soon as possible.
The latest I've heard is that she's on her way back to number 10, Downing Street. I have to confess, I don't know where she was, if she wasn't in Downing Street tonight anyway, but she is on her way back, and she will be being briefed by the Metropolitan Police, by Counter-Terror Command, and by senior security officials. Remember when the Manchester attacks happened, really not that long ago, she phoned Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader, in the middle of the night, I think on 2 occasions, to brief him as well, and also to agree a suspension in campaigning. So it wouldn't be unthinkable that she will also be keeping the Labour leader informed of what's going on.
Just one second, Alistair. Sorry to interrupt, but it does appear we were told that there was the reports of a third incident. That third incident was at a location rather further away at Vauxhall. We are now hearing that Vauxhall Station has reopened, and that is, as I mentioned, something of a hub. It's a bus station, it's a train station, it's a tube station. So that particular part of the story may well have been someone concerned for legitimate reasons. We will wait to hear from the police themselves, but it, at least for the time being, appears that the situation in and around Vauxhall may not be as problematic as that which we've seen in Borough Market and indeed, of course, on London Bridge itself. Just to talk about what we have seen this evening in terms of the response, armed police officers very, very quickly making their way to the scene. Other emergency personnel, we've heard fire service has been deployed. We've heard the ambulance service, of course, will have been deployed. There will have been a plan in place for a story, for an event such as this.
Absolutely. The Metropolitan Police and the City of London Police, don't forget, and this virtually is on the border of the two, because the City of London Police take care of the financial area of London, which is really, I mean, I don't know officially, but is essentially just over the bridge from London Bridge, just over north of the River Thames. And they will have worked very closely in the past, training for events like this,